Juan Soto saga has officially come to an end, and the Boston Red Sox were not the winners. But it's okay, and I'm here to break down why, as well as all the bits and pieces surrounding the actual Juan Soto deal, all in this episode of Red Sox Digest. But first, remember, if you're a part of the 83% currently watching this video, not currently subscribed to the channel, please scroll down, click the subscribe button to stay up to date on everything Red Sox on this channel of Red Sox Digest. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys so very much for everything and all the love and support, so thank you guys. But again, let's get to it and break down the end of the Juan Soto saga and what happens next, specifically for the Red Sox. Now, obviously, we were having massive conversations and discussions surrounding Juan Soto possibly landing with this Boston Red Sox organization. That clearly did not happen, as Jeff Passan broke the news just yesterday around 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where he tweeted this: breaking, superstar outfielder Juan Soto and the New York Mets are in agreement on a 15-year, $765 million deal. Contract, if you will. Sources tell ESPN it is the largest deal in professional sports history, and we have a little bit of information surrounding that, as George Castillo went on to then retweet this, saying, and Jeff Passan did retweet this tweet, saying Soto can either opt out of the 5th year, which would be 2029, or receive a $4 million raise per season from $51 million to $55 million for the remainder of the contract, per sources. Now, if you've seen the number floating around the $800 million, the $805 million mark surrounding this Juan Soto contract, this is why. Because if he does not decide to opt out after the 5th season in 2029 with the New York Mets on this massive contract, his pay will increase for choosing to not opt out. And again, moving the contract from $51 million per year to $55, bringing him to a total of $805 million when this contract would be said and done. Now, it is fair to say that the Boston Red Sox did not even attempt to give Soto $750 plus. I believe the number was somewhere just above the $700 million mark, which is definitely pretty steep for one individual player, which should go without any conversation. $700 million plus is ridiculous, and there's bits and pieces of information coming around that Soto's deal's bigger than LeBron James's career earnings in the NBA, as well as Gretzky's combined. It is craziness, the amount of money Juan Soto he is actually getting in this contract. But again, it's really expected. We all thought it was going to be around that 650 mark, and then they had more meetings and more conversations with Soto and Boris, obviously, meeting with these teams, and we were starting to find out, hey, this is going to be 700. It's going to be 725. It's going to be 740. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't 760 plus. And again, obviously, as we all know now, it was 765, and it's going to end up being closer to 805 if Juan Soto decides to be a lifetime New York Met. But again, this is the Juan Soto deal. Yes, he didn't come to Boston, and how is this going to affect the Boston Red Sox going forward? Now, I will say, I know in the comments, everyone was saying he's not coming to Boston. There's no chance. I will say, let's give a little bit of credit to the Red Sox. Are we losers in this situation? Yes. We did not land the generational 26-year-old talent in Juan Soto. There's no way around it. But again, let's play the other side of this. Would it have been a great thing to happen? Would it have been a monumental moment for this Red Sox organization and the fan base and everyone's associated with the Red Sox? Absolutely. If to argue that would be just craziness. Bringing in someone like Juan Soto, regardless of the organization and the state of that organization, is going to transcend them. To argue that again, I can't even find an idea to argue that. Again, Juan Soto, him being as good as he is, him being on any team makes them better, without a doubt. The reason the Red Sox shouldn't feel as really dumped and really gloomed as really it's being played out to be because they lost on Juan Soto is because now we didn't commit and just devote all that money to one player in Juan Soto. Again, pros and cons. But now with not giving him that money, we can go out in this offseason that now is really feeling like it's officially starting for the entirety of the MLB, because now Juan Soto's gone, the biggest domino has fallen, and now the other teams can get to work, and other big names and other key pieces for other positions can now get their offseason started and really get the ball rolling. Players like Alex Bregman, Max Fried, Corbin Burns, and a list of others who are obviously big name talents who have the ability and are going to test the offseason market. And with that being said, the Red Sox have an ability to go out there and really make a splash. Yes, obviously, again, Soto being Soto makes this team better and any team better that he's put on. But again, let's look at the checklist. What do the Red Sox desperately need this offseason? Pitching. I don't care if it's starting. I don't care if it comes out of the bullpen, rotation pieces, depth, stars, aces. We need help. We need arms. There's no way around it. You cannot argue against it. If we look at the current pitching rotation for the Red Sox, it's not great. Obviously, Slayton is one of the newest additions. Chapman is not yet on this sheet yet, but he will be there soon. And because of that, obviously, we have added 2 left-handed arms, both of the relief option. And again, we need more help. There's no way around it. Corbin Burns, Walker Buehler, these names are going to have to be in connections to this Red Sox team going forward throughout the rest of this offseason until they find a home. Hopefully it is Boston, to really revive this offseason. And that's really what I'm saying. The battle with Soto is officially over. Can't win this one. It is over. We have lost. But the war of the offseason is not. In saying that, now we can cite Ken Rosenthal, who went on his podcast that he gives out every 2 day or twice a week. And again, this happened this morning, immediately following last night's craziness of the offseason with Soto signing, where he discussed, obviously, the Soto signing, what happens with the Yankees, and then really what happens to the Jays, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers, the teams that were initially in that conversation, if not speaking directly about the Dodgers, but as well as the Red Sox and the Jays, who were involved with these, or with this big name free agent in the Juan Soto, who now they missed out on. What is now the move to go forward? And he brought up a really good point. Again, Corbin Burns, Garrett Crochet, these names, Max Fried, have to be out. They have to go out and be aggressive. Yes, a very, very small round of applause to this Red Sox organization going out there and being involved in someone like Juan Soto after years of not being the buyers that we were hoping them to be, like the Mookie Betts situation. And obviously the list goes on, as we've missed out on a lot of big opportunities to make a splash in the offseason. And because of that, we were behind the 8 ball here. We had to go out there and try to get Juan Soto. We ended up making an attempt. It didn't happen. So now we have to progress through the rest of the offseason. Now, in the middle of this podcast from Ken Rosenthal, he cites Andy Martino, as he goes on to say the Yankees were in the lead for Soto all throughout the process. Through the weekend and late afternoon today, Steve Cohen came from the top rope very late and got it done. Now, Rosenthal went on to say he doesn't know if it exactly played out like this, but it's a very good description of what really to visualize in the sense of how these conversations were going amongst Soto and the rest of the market. Then Martino goes on to subtweet that and say this. Update to this. In the final 24 hours, clubs involved considered Boston the biggest threat to the Yankees and Mets, close to a non-factor. It's obviously changed in a hurry. Now, obviously, this is a lot of things happening in a very, very short period of time immediately following Soto's signing. So, again, it seems like the Red Sox were involved in this conversation. Whether they were threats until the immediate last final straw or not, seems like it wasn't going to matter, as, again, Cohen was going to go out there and he was going to flat out bully. If you've ever played poker and you have more chips than the people sitting at the table with you, there is a method to that. You can flat out bully the players you are playing with by just simply having more chips and more money in that sense. And it seems like that's exactly what the Mets owner and Steve Cohen did. And again, he had a line in the sand. He knew what he was going to do. He knew what he wanted. He knew the splash he wanted to make involving Juan Soto, and he knew he wasn't going to allow other owners to come out and beat him in the sense of the money really available. And again, that's what we saw, as again, Juan Soto is now a New York Met. But let's get to it and break down this from Boston Sports Gordo, throwing out the idea that there's a chance that Walker Buehler might be one of the many pitching arms that the Red Sox could go out and get. So we have Ken Rosenthal, we have Boston Sports Gordo throwing out these ideas that, yes, we did miss on Soto. But again, let's go out and get the things we absolutely need. Let's go out and get the pitching. Let's make a trade for Crochet. There are so many different moves, regardless of the trades and new acquisitions, that the Red Sox, could go out and do. Yoshida, what are we doing? Are we trading him? Are we going to hold on to him? Obviously, the injuries are a problem. The statistical production at the plate is good, but it's up and down. When is he healthy? When is he active? And when he is healthy, does he have to play DH? Can we put him in the field? Again, a lot of questions for someone who's not a great fielder. Yes, the offensive production is right around par, if not above it, when he's healthy. But again, Is it something we want to hold on to? Is Devers staying at third base? Are we going to move him to first? If we do that, is Tristan Casas going to stay there, move to DH? What are we going to do? There's a lot of big questions surrounding that DH spot as well as first and third base that we have to get answers to when we come down to the conversation of position players. And because of that, I think the biggest move for the Red Sox to go out and make, again, is the pitching. Go out and make a splash. Go out and get a Corbin Burnes. Steal him from the Baltimore Orioles, who had him last season. Obviously, an AL East rival in the Orioles, who were very, very good last year, who are probably going to be very, very good next season. Let's go out and steal someone, again, from the New York Yankees. That is one of the biggest pieces I failed to bring up in this episode earlier. He's not a Yankee anymore. Juan Soto is no longer a New York Yankee, and that in itself is a win. I know we didn't get him, but again, the Yankees did not. So that in itself, from a Boston Red Sox perspective, is a win. And if we can go out there, like Gordo is really saying here, go out and get someone like a Walker Buehler, who we saw very, very recently, as recent as we could have seen a pitcher in this past October in the Fall Classic, absolutely shove. And again, is that saying he's going to be good for the next 5 years? No, but again, we could see him for 2, 3, 4 years in Boston and get good live, really, rounds and innings out of him because of it, as well as other players like Fried, going out and getting that left-handed pitcher that we so desperately need in the starting rotation, as well as possibly Corbin Burnes, making a trade for Garrett Crochet. I don't think the trade will come until we have an idea of what the infield is actually going to look like, as well as the Yoshida. I know he's considered the DH full-time because of the injuries to his labrum and really the inability to play the outfield. But again, there are so many big questions that the Red Sox now have to answer, and I think they're in a position to, now that they didn't commit $750+ million to one player in Juan Soto, I think they can go out and get a bunch of big-name players for the same asking price of the one Juan Soto, and I think we could end up being big winners this offseason despite not getting the biggest fish in the pond. And I think this is, the Boston Red Sox are in such a prime position to go out and do this. It would be a disastrous failure to fail to do so, and I genuinely mean that. Not getting Soto is not a generational, genuine failure, but if you fail to go out and fail to use the money that you attempted to give the one player in Soto for throughout the rest of the offseason to improve your team in the areas you so desperately need in such a specific and vital position, that will be a generational failure and a just genuine failure from this Boston Red Sox organization. But again, that will be it for this episode of Red Sox Digest. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.